Blog Talk Radio.
Aha! I waited for the introduction. It didn't get me. And oh boy, I feel like my own producer today. A little practice recently, and I think Dennis,
Hello.
you're there.
I'm here. I'm living, willing, and able.
I love it. Thank you so much for doing this. Let me give you an introduction, and I only hope to do half as good as what you did for me a couple of weeks ago. But anyway, folks, this is Dennis Worth. He's a father's rights activist for a child's right to share both parents equally. He's currently filming a movie for release on Amazon Prime on the subject, with a director who's won a multitude of film festivals and movies shown at Comic-Cons across the country. He was also the creator and host of the podcast Funny Like a Clown, and I was blessed to be on there. Also the owner of Joke in the Box comedy clubs, and has worked with the biggest names in comedy. He's performed in New England, New York, LA, Vegas, and Alaska. Also, former host of the award-winning local television show, The Comedy Kitchen, and I was also proud to be a guest on that a couple of times. So, Dennis, I'll leave it over to you now. You must have a lot on your mind.
Wow, it sounds a lot better when you say it than when I do, Tom. You made me sound really good there. That's great. Oh, thank you for having me on. You were a great guest, and I hope to be a great guest for you also.
Yeah, we had fun, did we not?
Yes, we did indeed.
So, first of all, I didn't know this. I think I did, in our paths. I think you had mentioned something about the father's right thing, and I can't wait to, start talking about that because I could go on forever. Let's talk about the comedy part. I'm going to throw it back to you. You started. I'm extremely impressed at the all the promo and sponsorship and everything else. Everybody knows that podcasts are huge these days. So, observing you and observing your, first of all, desire to have a comedy cooking show, you went to your local cable station. I mean, this stuff takes a lot of work. Podcasts take a lot of work. So, and I always look for the layers of things. What is it underneath? What are the causes? What prompts somebody to move out of the norm? Let's face it. Most people come onto the planet. They get a job. They do the job, and God knows what they do with the rest of their time. And then there are people who are motivated, inspired to go the extra mile. And from everything that you do that. You're an extra mile. Let's call you an extra miler. What is that?
Sure.
What is that thing within you that says that wants to do that?
Well, there's two ways you can go in life. You can either let things break you, or you can use it as fuel you on to do bigger things. I try to, instead of getting too down about things, I try to use it as fuel to twist it into something positive. And unlike today's generation, I'm not afraid of some hard work. If you want to get ahead in life, you gotta work hard. There's no easy routes. I book a lot of big shows, and a lot of the young comics, they just want you to hand it to them on a silver platter. And I try to tell them, nobody handed it to me. I had to work for it. You got to work for it too. So, well, I guess I'll go back to the beginning. I mean, I always loved stand-up comedy growing up, and I never knew how to get started. It ain't like you put in a job application. How do you become a stand-up comic? So I checked my mail one night. I got a pamphlet from the local college, and one of the night courses was Introduction to Stand-Up Comedy. So I signed up for that. I thought, never dreamed in a million years anything would become of it. I thought, years from now I'd look back and say, yeah, I tried comedy. I took the class with a mutual friend of ours, Jerry Caruso. Great guy, great teacher. In the class he said, you talk about the real life stuff. It's much more funny than anything you could make up. So, he asked us, what's our real life stuff? And I was just going through a really bitter divorce at the time, and I could see how it was affecting my child negatively. And unfortunately, the courts are set up to protect the mother, and there wasn't much I could do about it. I saw the whole system was just tearing everything apart, and it was killing me. And I found through comedy a way, to laugh at the situation rather than let it drive me crazy. So all the effort I put in is, that's keeping my mind occupied on something rather than, letting it drive me crazy. I'm trying to do something positive and try to change the system. So I came up with a character. My first comedy routine ever was called the Child Support Superhero, where I do references, where, Superman's kind of got it made, and the Child Support Superhero ain't got much money to do much. So, and I'll tell you, the character just kind of took on a life of its own. It really became the most popular routine I had, and you think I'm kidding, I'm not. I mean, it was almost, not everyone, but almost every comedy show I did, I'd do the routine, and after the show, I'd have somebody just chasing me down in the parking lot saying, dude, wait up, I want to tell you my story. And everybody wanted to tell me their story of how they were getting screwed by family law, too. And some of these stories were just blowing my mind, the gross unfairness these parents were going through. And every time I heard a story, I said, that's it. That's the worst story I'm ever going to hear. And sure enough, somebody had come up with a worse one, and my mind was being blown, so I created a page on Facebook for the Child Support Superhero, and it got a moderate reaction at first. Then one day I posted one post, and the post just went viral, okay? Now, get this, it hit 3.5 million people on Facebook. Now, I don't even know how many people are in the world, but 3.5 million is a heck of a lot of people. The post, it was a guy I just found. He was holding a piece of paper. It said, 3 to 4 parents commit suicide each week due to child access issues, and it just went nuts. Out of that going viral, I got 17,000 followers on the page, so now every time I post something from the page, I hit between 5 and 50,000 people see my posts. So that's an amazing tool I have at my disposal to, reach people and get my message out there. So, with the comedy and, the Child Support Superhero, the routine, we started filming a movie where, I noticed if you want to get your message across to people, some will listen, some won't. Some will listen for a few minutes. Your friends will listen for a while. It's, yeah, that's Dennis just complaining again. But if I tell it to them a humorous way, if I start to make them laugh, now they want to listen. They'll listen to me longer. They want to get educated. So I use comedy while I'm making you laugh. I'm also educating you on the subject. So I got together with a friend of mine who's kind of hit it big in the film industry. I met him. I did a small part for him in a short film he did before he got popular, but he agreed to help me out, and he's a very talented kid, Adam Griswold. He can do magic with films, I'll tell you. You wouldn't believe this guy's work. Google it. So we're filming a movie about the Child Support Superhero where it's a comedy. It'll make you laugh, but at the same time, it's going to educate you on the subject of family law and the gross injustice that's going on in the country. And we got off to a good start here. We started filming the outside scenes. I figured we'd do those first to be safe with the pandemic, and then possibly by the time, we could do the indoor scenes, things would get better. But they didn't get better. They got worse, as we all know. So we're having trouble getting the indoor scenes done, but we're working at it slowly but surely.
Wow. There's so much there I want to pick apart. And first of all, it seems that are you holding the phone in different positions, because at some points it really comes full face and it's really clear. Sometimes it feels like it's held back a little bit. Are you doing anything different with the phone?
Yeah, no, I got it set right in front of me. I keep hearing some squealing, but I think that's on your end, not mine. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, if all of it's good, but then sometimes it really gets really good.
All right, I'll turn the phone this way. Maybe that'll be better.
Yeah, okay. So, again, I'm going to come back to, I'm just curious. There's, there's something, I mean, do you have a question? I'm trying to find your hot point. What is it that gives you the sizzle? We'll bring it back to comedy. You're not content to just do enough. And so you took the class. And let's face it. I mean, talk about a little bit, not just having the desire, but learning how to do comedy. That whole hurdle. That it takes an extra. Talk about a superhero. It takes a supreme effort to overcome the rejection and the exposure. You're bearing your soul to the public, looking for approbation. So again, what do you think it is that moves you to do this stuff?
It's a good. If I don't do it, it'd probably drive me crazy. So
yeah, okay, good. Now we're getting somewhere. So yeah,
Yeah,
so
I mean, if I didn't get this off my chest, I'd probably be the next dad hanging from a rope, like we talked about the suicide rates there. So it keeps me occupied. It's a passion of mine. So rather than let it drive me nuts and bring me down, I try to bring myself up by educating people.
Well, yeah, and I think that I totally get it with but the thing is, you did your comedy, but then you did more than comedy. You decided that you'd take your background as a chef, and you would use cable TV to create a program to bring more comedians on. So most comedians won't go that far. They don't see that. And
well,
go ahead.
Well, as I do, comedy's a tough business, okay? There's circles in comedy, and, everybody has their circle they're in, and if you're in that circle, you can't be in the other circle. If you work for that guy, you can't work for this guy. It's really childish, but that's the way it is, whether you like it or not. So I was always the kind of guy where, it's like, can I get into your comedy club? No, I can't get into your comedy club. All right, well, then I'll start my own comedy club. It was, can I get on your TV show? No, you can't. You're not in a circle. All right, well, I'll start my own comedy TV show. So it was more, the rejection kind of fueled me. It's all right, you want to let me on, I'll put you out of business. How's that? So, I mean, that was kind of the attitude I took. All right, you don't want me to be on your radio show? I'll start my own radio show. All right.
No,
it's the rejection's kind of motivation too,
Yeah, well, again, this is good because I guess I slipped a little bit because I entitled my podcast Upbeat, and like you, it's tough these days being upbeat because there's not a lot of upbeat going on. It's downbeat, but what you're talking about is you have enough of a spirit within you that when you want to do something, you're not going to let the objections or the disadvantages get to you. You persist. And you know what I stumbled on something recently with all of the craziness that's going on right now, and people all of a sudden adopting these crusades and everything, and everybody wants to tell you, they put placards on their lawns, this is what so I started to say, wait a minute, and the thing that really started to blow my mind is that people, all of a sudden they want to crusade, and it's like the traditional concept of crusade. They want to go to the Holy Land and fight and conquer the infidels, and so people will approach you with this and want to start a fight. And, a lot of times I just say, well, listen, I'll go with you. But then I started to develop a criteria. I said, what is your mindset? And because you have to have a certain mindset. So I would ask people, do you see the world? How do you see the world? What's your world view? What is your world mindset? Do you see the world as a platform for opportunity? Do you see the world as a place where you can create things? Or do you see the world as a place of abundance? Or do you see it as scarce? Do you see it as evil? Do you see it? How do you perceive it? And what is your role in it? How do you perceive yourself? And I guess that's what I'm getting at here. Do you see yourself as a game changer? Do you see yourself as somebody who resists the status quo? And that's what I'm getting from you, is that you see the world, I think, I don't want to speak for you, but I think you see the world as a place, an opportunity to express yourself through comedy, through film, through, a cause. And you also see yourself as empowered to do it. So why don't you comment on that?
Well, yeah, Babe Ruth had a comment, it's tough to be the person that never gives up, okay? I expect to have my failures along the way, but if I never get up, I'll get to my goal eventually. So that's a lot of people, they get kicked down and they quit. So you're never going to get nowhere by quitting. How do I see the world? Who's changed things, I mean, everybody looks at, great presidents. Well, they weren't always presidents. One day they were regular people like me and you. I mean, somebody has to start and lead the way. And I said, the family law, they're making so much money off of family law. It's such a crooked system. It'll never be solved in our lifetime. But, if we set the stages for future generations to solve the problem. So I'm just trying to do my part and, get my message out there. I mean, somebody has to lead the way. Why not me? So, I mean, I'm certainly doing my part, and I'm trying to spread awareness. I brought up, At one point slavery existed in this country. Today it blows our mind that even existed, but at that time it was a problem. Well, how did that get solved? There was an awareness that every man was created equal. At one time women weren't allowed to vote in this country. Today we look at that as ridiculous. Obviously they should vote, but how did they solve that problem? Well, awareness was the key. Well, if we're going to solve the problem of family law, awareness is the key, and it all starts with people like me and you. Everybody thinks, it's going to start with the other guy. It's going to start with the. Well, no, it don't start with the other guy. It starts with you. So, if I can get my message across, then I'm certainly going to put everything into it because I'm very passionate about it. Because, I can't be a part of my child's son right now. I'm a victim of parental alienation. He hasn't spoken to me or my side of the family in over 7 years because of all the garbage his mother put in his head. So all the time I would be spending with my son, instead I spend that trying to spread awareness so no other father has to go through the hell I've been through.
Good for you. That's, because, Dennis, what we're seeing, don't you think we're seeing, I want to take not only in an individual, but we're seeing in a society, there seems to be a real passion for victimization, a real passion to be a victim, a real passion to bear the cross that, oh my God, this life has been unfair, society's been unfair, I'm a victim. And with
everybody's a victim nowadays.
So you obviously, Dennis, what I'm getting at, you have been victimized. But you
I don't feel like the victim. I feel
my son, victim.
He's the one paying the biggest price, not me. I'm an adult. I couldn't even handle the situation anymore. I can only imagine him as a child. I can see it was just an unbearable situation we were put in. And
right.
Family law, as long as they're making money, they don't care. They're making billions. It's not $1 million a year. It's $1 billion a year industry.
Right. Well, and the thing is you took up the sword. You didn't lie down. You didn't, unfortunately, those people who are killing themselves, you didn't do that. And, do you see some of this as almost, I've come to believe in destiny a lot, that we have a certain path. And do you ever, whenever you identify with a higher power or a higher cause, your power becomes incredible. And I'm looking at you saying, I think that I get the feeling that you really came to the planet this time to take up these causes.
Yeah, I truly believe in my heart, children deserve both of their parents equally. I often, I'm sure I do my stand-up routine. I'm making people laugh. I'm educating people, of course. Now, if I look at it through my son's eyes, he probably, I tell a lot of jokes about dealing with my ex. He probably don't like me telling jokes about his mother. So, but if I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. He's programmed to hate me no matter what I do. So, I'm going to get my message across. And, I mentioned the page and I mentioned the show. These people chasing me down after shows and they're looking for advice from me. On the Facebook page, I have young kids message me all the time, dude, I thought I was alone. I didn't even know a page like this existed. No, you're far from alone. We're here for you. So, I'm certainly helping out a lot of people who've been through the ringer like I have. So, that makes me feel good.
What is the page again? Repeat it, please.
The Child Support Superhero.
Okay, great. So, anybody out there who's listening, and I hope a lot of you are listening, because, though I didn't deal with it to the extreme that you did, I dealt with it, and excuse me, and I developed a good chunk of my material about the divorce. And you're right, the beauty of comedy, it's healing. You want to talk about the healing part of comedy?
Oh, sure. They say laughter is the best medicine. If I didn't find comedy, Jerry taught me in his class how to deal with my pain through comedy, how to, this is so far past ridiculous, I'm just going to laugh about it. And, and I told Jerry before, I think God was in the works that I found you, because if I didn't find a way to laugh about it, it would have drove me insane, and I probably would have been the next statistic. So, I see the good I'm doing. I see I'm making a difference, and that's the passion for me to keep going.
Yeah, again, I'm glad you mentioned, meetings. You started, what I try to do with Upbeat and every day of my life is tell people, if you really look below the surface, you're going to find that you came here for a reason. Again, that mindset. the world, for all it's good or bad, the world is the world. Life is life, and you can decide to do either what you're doing, and this is why I think, you're so empowering. Is you can say, okay, how do we deal? A lot of negative things happened, but I can turn this into a positive, and I can make a difference rather than to lie down and just whine and complain about it. And so, you become, I'm sure you're, in doing this movie, I've started to, I've got a property myself and everything else. So what I did is I started to read books on screenplay and story, and you start to understand the archetype is that everybody's on a hero's journey. We're here, we all have our own journey, and in every journey, there's no story without adversity. You want to talk about that?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like I said. I expected to get kicked down. I didn't expect things to go smoothly. Sure, I've been attacked by a whole lot of women saying, "Hey, you're a deadbeat dad. Just pay your child support and shut up." And I mean, sure, there's a lot of people out there who don't like what I do. For every two people that like it, there's one that don't. But I try to get that across. I've been accused of being a woman basher more than once, and I'm not trying to bash women. I try to say kids need mom just as much as they need dad, but dad's getting erased, not mom, and that's the problem. So, you mentioned the cooking show I did, the Comedy Kitchen, and we did a few seasons of that. I would have loved to have kept it going, but you're only as strong as the people around you. My director had a heart attack. He was healing up. The camera people, they were in for a while, then they found other projects of their own. So I would have liked to have kept going, but I was only good as the people around me. I lost the people around me, and I couldn't keep going. So that's why I started up Funny Like a Clown podcast. I can run that by myself, and it's like anything, the cooking show started small. I worked hard, built it into something big. The podcast the same way. I started small. I've turned it into something big, and I've really brought in this movie is going to be my, I think the peak of my comedy career. It's going to be the thing that either makes or breaks the whole thing. Where, so I brought in some talented people. I'm only as strong as the people around me. Like I said, I got Adam Griswold. He's an award-winning director from film festivals all over New England, LA, all over the place. Ricky Mapleton from New Hampshire. He's a friend of mine. He's in a band called Screamo. He's playing the sidekick to my superhero. Check him out. He's Screamo is the name of his band. So your listeners want to Google. He's got some really great music. He did the theme song for the movie, and I'll tell you, the theme song was just genius. So I can't wait for people to hear it. He sent it to me, and I was sitting in my chair belly laughing. I feel my belly jumping up and down. I was laughing so hard at this song. So, I got a lot of talented people around me, and, when you mix up that much talent, something good is bound to happen. So I'm hoping something good comes out of this movie.
Do you feel that, again, I'm trying to go, to find the causes. Do you feel that ever feel that you're being guided, that you're being helped on another level?
Yeah, I mean, you always feel like you're here for a higher purpose. I mean, everybody, like you said, everybody's got a purpose in life. It's just a matter of finding that purpose. I mean, I had loved stand-up comedy, since I was a kid. To this day, I wish I would have got started sooner. When I think it was destiny, I got the pamphlet in the mail and finally got started on my journey here. And, I'll be thinking, what's the next move? I've done this. What's my next move? And then some idea will pop in my head. I was like, wow, that's a great idea. Where did that come from? Well, maybe it came from God. I don't know, but I keep coming up with ideas and they keep working. So.
Yep, that's all. And I think once you start to get a feel for that, then that's where you get your strength to keep on with the fight, don't you? Yeah. I mean, just, you think about, well, maybe this is it. Then you hit another good idea, and it's like, oh, well, I got to do that. That's too good of an idea not to do. That keeps you going to the next project. And, it keeps getting bigger and better. Pixar
we solve the problem.
I think I recently got on the Disney Stream, whatever they call it, and Pixar has a great I think it's the behind the scenes or something like that. Inspiration, I think it's called. It's about a 30-minute documentary. And they interview key players in the production of their stories and animation. And there's a gal, an Italian-American gal there who I guess originally came from Italy. And she does the best 8 minutes ever on inspiration and creativity I've ever seen. And she talks about how once you start down the path, how all of a sudden it's like you're channeling, and she looks at the camera without getting religious, but she does get in a sense spiritual. She says, I don't know where the ideas come from. She says, but they're coming from somewhere. Somebody's in charge, and it's absolutely marvelous. And when you're doing what you're doing, then you're tapping into that, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean it's a passion you have, and I mean sometimes subconsciously you're thinking about stuff you don't even know about, and it pops in your head. But I mean, I remember I took the class on comedy. I think it was Judy Carter. Jerry suggested a book on comedy, and it said, if you want to be an average comedian and have fun, go ahead and do it. But if you want to be, the best of what you do, you got to think it 24/7. Okay, if you're at work, you got to be thinking comedy. When you go to bed, you got to be thinking comedy. You wake up, you got to be, So, I mean, I go the extra mile 24/7. I'm thinking comedy. I'm thinking, what's the next way to get my message across? I either do it or I don't. I do it all, 100%, or I don't do it at all. A lot of these people, they want to go at it 50% and expect good results. And, you're not going to get anywhere in life doing anything, not just comedy. You got to give it 100%. So I certainly give it my all. And when you put that much into something, like I said, something good's bound to happen. Good ideas are bound to come out,
Well, I found a book. I don't know if you ever saw the movie. What the heck? It's right on the tip of my tongue. Will Smith is in it with, one of the great Boston actors, and oh God. Anyway, he talks about he ended up writing a book called The War of Art, and in it he says not the art of war, but the war of art. He says it's a battle, and he says every day there's a thing called resistance, and he says it's real, and he says the only way to overcome it, to express yourself and be creative, is to go to work every day. And he says, if you do it long enough, he says, the muse, whatever you want to call the muse, God, the universe, or whatever, will come to your assistance. And all of a sudden, exactly the things you're talking about, the subconscious, etc., and more ideas. One step leads to the next. And so you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, I think, I don't forget the guy's name, but the guy who invented the Apple phone there, he was talking about it. He flew over to Japan or something. He went to this old temple high up in the mountains, and he was meditating, and he said all of a sudden the idea for the Apple phone just popped into his head there. And he said he has no idea where it come from. I'm going to create a device you can hold in your hand that's going to have the world of information at your fingertips, and I'll make it simple as heck to use. And it's like, there was a higher power working there. I mean, I've watched shows where they talk about, everybody's great ideas, are, surrounding the universe. The universe is full of all past life forms and everything, and sometimes you tap into them. I mean, if you want to be spiritual about it, if you believe that or not, I mean, but, I definitely believe in a higher power. I mean, and I think, you put enough effort into anything, then you tap into that higher power. I mean, I do a job and I make good money, and it was to the point I had made good money enough I was going to take some time off, and I took some time off from work, and you know what happened? I turned into a couch potato. I said I was going to do all these things, and I'm like, I'll do it tomorrow. I started watching TV and gaining weight. Finally, I said, you know what? I got to get back to work because this ain't doing me any good. It's like you need something to be passionate about and put your energy into. That's what keeps you going in life. And if you don't, it's going to bring you down and be depressed. So you got something, go for it.
That last statement was perfect. I think, don't you think that the world kind of needs to hear that right now?
Yeah, it's it's a different generation than we grew up in, for sure. I mean, I think we grew up in a generation where we didn't have much, so when we had kids, we wanted to give them everything, and we turned them into a bunch of spoiled brats where now they all think they're entitled. I often say, please and thank you has been replaced with you owe me and I'm entitled. So
oh my God, you just hit on one of my favorite topics. I said there's a lot of phrases that have disappeared from the American lexicon. One of them is You just, I didn't think of that. But please, yes, please is gone.
Yeah, you owe me nowadays. You owe me. No more please. You owe me.
Right. Please is gone, and excuse me is certainly gone. So there's no more excuse me. And I'm sorry is definitely gone.
Nobody admits they're wrong. Everybody's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but I'm
big person to admit you're wrong. There ain't many big people left,
Right. But both of us are trying to be upbeat right now, so we won't. But trust me, everybody tells me, will you lay off the millennials? Because nobody.
Well, wise man, I forget the guy, but he once said, if we argue for over 5 minutes, both of us are wrong. Okay, so I mean, there it is right there. If negativity. You can go all day on negativity, but if you be negative to each other for over 5 minutes, you're both wrong. I mean, positivity, that's what's going to change the world, not negativity.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why
Martin Luther King had a great saying. He said, "What? Darkness can't drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate can't drive out hate. Only love can do that." That's one of my favorite sayings of all time.
Exactly, and boy, we're seeing tons of hate right now, unfortunately. All right, so this movie, first of all, how did you find the director?
Well, I'm a big dude, okay? I'm 6'3" and a few hundred pounds, so I can take care of myself. So I wouldn't recommend this to people. But back in the day, he was just starting out, and I was just starting out in comedy, and I went on to what's the website there? Boy, it's on the tip of my tongue. Not eBay, but the local one there, Craigslist. I went on Craigslist, and I put in comedian, I put in actor, and all of a sudden it popped up that this guy, he said he was honest, he's just starting out in directing, he's got a passion for it. He was looking to put together a small budget film, and he was looking for people to join him. So I contacted him. I met him at a Starbucks coffee shop. We talked, we hit it off. I did a small role in his movie, and I always kept him in mind, and that was years ago. Since then, he's really built in. He's got his own little company there. And like I said, he's won film festivals throughout New England and L.A. He's flown out there. He's winning film festivals all over the place. And he's so booked with work now, you couldn't even get him if you wanted him. But where I met him, when he was a nobody, he's helping me out with this movie. So I called him up. I asked him if he was interested. He said, yeah, I got some very talented person on it, and that's what I need. And we've shot some scenes, and he sent it over, and I'm almost like, how did he do that? That's exactly what I had in my head. This gets put on film by just reading a script, and it's just, then he's doing stuff I wouldn't even thought of doing. I was like, that's so genius. How did he think of that? I wouldn't know how to do it if I did, but yeah, we got a lot of talent in this movie, and it's, I can tell it's going to be something magical at the end. It really can.
Steve Jobs, good or bad, whatever they say about him, but he's one of my heroes, especially I think he's the greatest 20th century philosopher in many ways. And one of the precepts he has is that you never know where the dots in your life are going to connect looking forward. But when you look back, it all makes sense. And what you just described goes totally with that. You took that step, and again, this is what what I try to have as a reason for the name Upbeat is, I'd love to see everybody awake. I'd love to see everybody see the world as a place, a platform, a canvas to create and give something to the world rather than, the way it's going. And so that spark that's in you, and that's all I'm trying to identify here. You've got a spark within you that doesn't let you sit on the couch, that doesn't let you wallow in self-pity. You go for it. And so you take that step, you go to Craigslist, you believe in yourself, and all of a sudden this guy shows up. And to me, that's not an accident. And then
I think everybody meets everybody on purpose. It wasn't you hit the word perfect. It wasn't an accident that we met. I think it was meant to be that we met. I do believe that everybody meets for a purpose.
Yeah, and then years later, he's the guy. He goes on his path. He becomes really good at what he does. He certainly sees the world as a platform for him to express himself and to create some good. And you're following the same, so you got the same kind of vibration. It's a positive vibration, and poof, all of a sudden you reconnect, and look at you.
And some magic's happening. Yeah, if we ever get it done, we're going to get it on Amazon Prime. Our plan was we were going to rent out a movie theater. We were going to have all the fans come out, have a big thing, have a red carpet interview with the cast on the way in, question and answer after the movie. Then this pandemic hit and all the movie theaters are down. So, but I mean, we still got months of filming left. So who knows? Maybe the world will change by then. We're hoping, but we're trying to stay positive and get it done for sure.
So again, it's this child support superhero. What's the mission statement of what the child support hero was? Superman had up and away. Actually, what he had is go forward. I found that out when I started my company. Because I was curious about all the superheroes, what their mantras were. So, what's your mantra? What's your mission statement?
Fighting for truth, justice, and equality for parents everywhere. That's what he does. I mean, he fights for a child's right to both parents equally, and
yeah, that's right. That's the TV Superman that had that, didn't he? He says the American way, the truth, justice, and the American way.
Right, truth, justice, and the American way. Right, we go truth, justice, and equality. So I mean, it's it's kind of a spin-off of how Superman had it made. He had all and part of the joke is, Superman wears knee-high red leather boots. All I can afford is a pair of flip-flops, Superman had a long red cape. I got an old beach towel with holes in it. Superman had a big S on his chest. I got a green dollar sign. I mean, it's kind of the joke that goes into, how the system kind of beats you down. You either let it break you or you fight back. So I chose to fight back.
So I went through the divorce. I went through the pain of that, and et cetera. Do you think, what's the net outcome? Does it make you a better person, or does it detract from who you are? The whole experience.
The whole experience, I mean, it's been, I always said, this everything we look at it is from whose point of view you look at it. So, I mean, had I lived my ex's life, I'd probably see things her way. If she lived my life, she'd probably see things my way. I mean, in the end, it was our fight. It wasn't our child's fight, and he's the one who suffered the most because of it. So that's the pain of the situation. So that's what needs to change. Until these lawmakers want to change some of these family law, which it's slowly happening now, but I mean, it's very slow that it's happening. And, I put out a question, I've argued with a lot of people on this subject. And like I said, we go back and forth. And I usually hit them with this question, and this ends the argument. So I'll ask you the question, Thomas, and you give me the answer, okay? Here's the question, okay? How many more children and parents have to go decades without speaking because of parental alienation? How many more children have to commit suicide? How many more parents have to commit suicide before we realize as a people that this system is not working? What's the answer, Tom?
The answer is you just struck a chord. I'm a child of the 60s. I'm a hippie. The answer's blowing in the wind, Dennis.
That's it. The answer is 0. We need to stop this now. We don't need it to move slowly. We need it to move quickly because it's the Bob Dylan song. How many roads does a man have to walk down? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind, and the wind. We've got to reach out for that wind and grab the answer. Yeah, unfortunately, as a people, money's coming before, the good of people, We're both in a world based on money rather than,
You've hit on something that is very dear to me. I'm an advocate for kids, you see. And when I see the current political climate, the American landscape right now, and you're watching all of the factions making all of the noise, and every once in a while, again, somehow people seem to show up in my life that want to, somehow express their holier than thou attitude and and fight for their cause. And I say to them, listen, again, I'll go with you. I said, but you seem to want to talk about things like career. You want to talk about things like money. You want to talk about your victimization, the inequity, the unfairness, but it all seems to be around you. Now, what I'm concerned with, the things that bother me daily, and I don't know why. People say that because people, it's so funny because people will, and you must hear this all the time. Well, why do you care? Well, in your case, you really do care because it's personal. You know, this.
Sure, it's my point of view. I mean, I'm seeing things from my point of view, and that's how I'm going to express them, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So what's happened is it became personal. But I tell people the things that I'm concerned about. Number one, I'm very concerned about we're not seeing it now. In fact, this is one of the benefits of COVID, isn't it? That there's no school shootings. That's kind of nice, isn't it? But I'm concerned about school shootings. I'm concerned about the opioid crisis. I'm concerned that 25% of the teenagers today in America want to kill themselves. I'm concerned about the growing alienation. I'm concerned about the isolation. I'm concerned that the elderly are choosing to suicide over life. These are the things.
You know, family don't really mean much anymore, you know.
Family
was everything.
They've
broken family.
That is my core sore point right there. Yeah, and that's why when I saw your list of what you wanted to do, that's the one that infuriates me the most, is the destruction of the American. And there seems to be some growing force, some motivation to eliminate the traditional American family, and that's where I pick up the crusade. And you have.
It's a lost time we live in, for sure. I mean, it's different than we grew up with, and I'm not against change, but I mean, you know, it's like you said, you know, how many of these teenage suicides are up, teenage pregnancy is up. It's just, you know, the core values are gone, and an educated man can see it's all behind money. You know, it's people getting rich off of breaking us as a family. You know, and that's a problem. So. You know, and you say everybody wants to be a victim, and I mean, you know, do you want to deal with it in a positive way or a negative way? So, I mean, I try to do it in the positive way where I make people laugh and educate them through laughter, and then you got these knuckleheads that storming the Capitol building doing it in a negative way, and I mean, you know, that's just getting your hate across, and you may get your message out, but it's the wrong way to get it out, you know? You're spreading hate, and all you're going to get back hate from it, so.
Well, you know, and I had a friend who was a divorce attorney, and she actually made the statement one day that she loves hate because hate keeps her in business. Keeps her employed,
exactly, yeah.
Keeps her employed. She loved.
Oh, I look now, all the thousands I spent on lawyers going through the courts and didn't do me much good, but, you know,
Yeah, so
that's how they make their living.
Okay. So what do you think? You know, again, we are proponents of the traditional family. We're proponents of the importance of fathers. We're proponents of. But isn't it weird? That we live in a society now. We're on the defense. We have to defend it.
Yeah, I mean. It's about getting a point across and getting the movement out there and getting everybody talking about it. I mean, I don't agree with what these kids are doing, but like it or hate it, this Black Lives Movement thing, everybody's talking about it. They got their message out there. I mean, I don't approve everything they do to handle it, but I mean, I'll give them. They got everybody talking about it. So.
Well, you know, let me just say this. Now that you brought it up, this will not be upbeat. I did a podcast recently with a brilliant man, Brian Culkin, who's written many books about gentrification and globalization and technology and the way we're heading more and more to dystopia. And he made a distinction. He says there's a big difference between Black Lives Matter and the organization Black Lives Matter. He says, big distinction. He says, of course, he says Black Lives Matter. That is untouchable. That is a self-evident truth. Nobody can question that. But the organization itself, and he didn't go into it, but I will.
If it turns it into a corporation, it becomes a problem, right?
And it also, somebody tipped me off that one of the, and I won't word it exactly, but the point is right on their front page of their website, we are against the concept of the traditional family. We are proponents for alternative family. We see the world. We don't see the world that way. And And of course, for somebody like you and me, that just makes the hair on my head, it was left, stand up. But I also, it was funny because I told the people who, not many people realize that that's the agenda. That we are advocates for transgender. We are advocates for LGBT. They're advocates for all of these things. And when I mentioned to people, so my daughter went there the other day and said, well, that's not there. I don't see it. And so I went back and I looked for it, and it wasn't there. And so I did a research on Google, and I found out the term. I found an article that said it was there, and the term he used, it was scrubbed. Okay? And so basically, they started to take a little heat for that.
Right.
And this is what we're up against. The people who believe in what we believe in, that a family life is healthy, and a traditional family. Not that there aren't alternatives. I'm not going to say that, but there is a certain wholesomeness to it. It took how many centuries for humans to figure out that was the evolutionary process that would take humans to the next level. It was community and family, and now those institutions are totally being
don't exist.
Right, and it angers the new think. You see, it angers the crusaders to tear it down. So there is an agenda to attack that. In fact, you know that I saw a thing on Facebook. Somebody was promoting changing Father's Day to Significant Others Day. Not Mother's Day.
I saw that. The term "daddy" has been replaced with the term "mother" has been replaced. They call them "baby mama" now. They don't even call them mother.
Exactly.
Baby mama. Like, what is a baby mama? What's a mother? What are you talking about? Like, some of the terminology, it'll leave you scratching your head.
And let's go with what what's happening in Congress. Is that they put a proposal in. I think it's actually in effect that you cannot use any gender-centric terms. You can't say father, mother, daughter, any of those. There has to be only
non-gender language. Nowadays, you can't say anything without offending. So you can't say hello without offending.
Yeah, these are the people who are attacking the sacred institution, because to them it's not sacred anymore. Let's get rid of it.
Well, what's the old saying? Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. I mean, back in the 40s and 50s, which you probably remember your mom and dad. Dad went off to work, he made the bread. Mom stayed home as a housewife. I mean, so that was when child support came into existence, because moms didn't work back then; they were housewives. So if you broke up, dad had to give you part of your pay because they ones earning the bread. Well, nowadays, women are equal part of the workforce, but they never changed the laws to adjust for that, because the state's making billions of dollars. The federal government gives dollar for dollar every penny the state takes in child support. You think they got an agenda to keep it high? Oh, they're making a whole lot of money. You better believe they got an agenda.
Right. Well, everybody wants fair play except when it hurts them.
Yeah, well, there you go. Take money out of my pocket, now we'll change the laws. Yeah, right, wrong, or otherwise. But, how long does it happen before the people fight back and there's a revolution? I mean, we're starting to see, the starts of a mini revolution, so who knows where we're heading? I don't know. Exactly.
Well, so again, I want to come back to the mission statement is equality and justice, and through the power of comedy. So in spite of, now, here's a real question for you. If you could have, not knowing who you are now, knowing what you're doing now, knowing your outlook now, would you have rather had that part not be? No, don't get me wrong. I can see that if it never happened, you'd have your son's love and you'd have the advocate. But other than that, if that never happened, would you want to go through life without that happening?
looking back, I mean, who don't want their children? I mean, your children, everything in life. There's nothing more important. So, I mean, I wish, you know, I've been robbed of a son. More importantly, he's been robbed of a father. I mean, so, you know, do I wish all that pain was erased? Yes, I do. But I mean, at the same time, you know, if out of any bad comes a good, then I mean, you know, out of the badness of that situation, I am spreading awareness. I am helping other people who've gone through the same thing that I've gone through, and I'm letting them know, hey, you're not alone, and I can see, you know, I am helping people. So there's a lot of satisfaction in that. So, I mean, I don't want to say I'd go through all, you know, I want to go through all that hell again that I've been through. I wouldn't, but I mean, there is some good that came out of it, yeah. So it's turning a negative into a positive.
Well, the person you are today, as opposed to the person you might have been without it.
Oh, well, I'm a much older and wiser person now. So, I mean, you know, if anybody compared themselves, you know, in their 50s compared to when they were 20s, I mean, I'm much wiser to everything now than I was back then. So, I mean, but,
well,
I'm definitely a stronger person because of it, yeah. I mean,
so this is what's missing today, I think, is that adversity is there for a reason. And adversity builds character. Do you think I think that's a way I can ask the question be a little more incisive, a little clearer, and a little more, you know, that would you be the character you are today without that experience?
Probably not to the extent I am. I mean, I was always a guy who liked to joke around, but I mean, it'll probably be on a different subject, you know.
Right. But
I often wonder, you know, I say, you know, he's going to mature. He's going to get to the age where he's going to see, you know, there's two sides to every story. All he's ever heard is one. He's going to come back. And then some days I say to myself, you know what? He may never talk to me again, you know, but maybe this was the path I was chosen. Maybe, you know, maybe it was meant to happen and I was meant to be the guy to spread awareness. I don't know. So,
well, again, you know, adversity builds character. And this is what I wanted to talk to you about today is that the character you are now is not the character you were, nor would it be the character you would have been. Who knows? We don't know that. That's only conjecture. So you have a sense of, you know, to me, I think you should be very proud of the character you are now because of what you went through. So in some ways...
It either breaks you or you use it to fuel you. I use it to fuel me.
Right. So rather than what happens to a lot of people, they take the hit and they want to just be a victim, or you you embrace it and you say, this can make me better.
Yeah, I always said, how do you turn a negative into a positive? How do you roll with the punches? All right, this hit me, you know, I mean, life's going to keep kicking you down. You can either let it kick you down or you can learn how to roll with the punches. I learned how to roll with the punches.
But
every time something negative hits me, how do I turn it into a positive?
Well, you know, all good stories start with the character. You know, there's a character arc that the character starts off and he's going along his way or her way, and they are who they are. And then, if you're going to make a good story, he gets whacked. She gets whacked. All right? They get thrown into an upside-down world. So the rest of the story becomes, how do they get out of this? How do they evolve? And what are they going to do? It's the old thing. It's the caterpillar that becomes the butterfly. And so how do they evolve? And at some point in every good movie, about 20 minutes before it ends, and you're probably going to have it written into your movie, there's an all is lost moment. The character comes across
point where you're broken.
Yeah, it's a dark night of the soul. I mean, it's in all great stories. And
well, you got to make a choice, you know. Do you let it break you, or do you turn things around?
If he or she handles it the right way and decides to, and again, I'm glad I'm going down this road, because what the hero starts off in his journey, he wants to achieve a certain goal. He wants to either get the castle or he wants to get the maiden, and whatever it is, money, success, houses, whatever. And along the way, he finds out that that's not what it's about. What it's really about is all of it's not about the tangible things he could have achieved. It's about the intangible things that he learned. Things like love, things like forgiveness, things like courage, things like passion. And
I think those come with time, though. I think with maturity, everybody reaches those. That's why I hope my child someday, when he gets older, he'll reach all those things you just mentioned, and maybe, we can have a little bit of a relationship. We both been robbed so much.
He will, and I think I can almost it just historically happens over and over again because deep down he knows. I recently had a conversation with I don't know if we covered this in my conversation, but this is really appropriate for what we're doing here. My agent at the time, we were in a club, and he mentioned about a new comic that he acquired for his stable. And he says, "Oh, he's a cool guy. He's my wingman. We go into these bars and these discos, and he's good looking, and the women love him. When I get along, and we pick up all these women, and he's great. He's got 5 baby mamas." And I said, at the time, I didn't know the term. I said, "What are you talking about, baby mamas?" Well, he says he's got kids by 5 different women. He's cool. I go, so I stopped, and I said, wait a minute. Yeah. I said, "What about the kids?" And knee-jerk reaction from him was, and you can probably tell, you probably know for sure who this is. He goes, oh, you don't have to worry about the kids because he doesn't have to pay any child support. The women just wanted to have babies with him, and so he doesn't have to pay any money, which is even better. So he's got all these kids, and he doesn't have to pay any money. And I said, I'm going to ask you again, what about the kids? Well, what? I don't understand what you're saying. I said, they don't have a father.
Yeah.
And he said to me,
"It's not about you or her; it's about the kid." That's the problem.
So he said, his answer was, "Well, I didn't have a father, and I'm fine." So being who I am, I went further. I said, "Really? You didn't have a father, and you never wondered what it would be like to have a father?" I said, "You never thought those kids who did have a father and ask yourself or wish that you had that love? You never thought that?" I said, "What would you have been, Rob?" I'm not going to say his name, I'm going to slip. I said, "What would you have been if you'd had a father?" And he looked at me and he said, "I probably wouldn't be a stand-up comedian." So we know so many comedians are out there looking for love from the audience. And it was a moment of truth for that individual. And to me, that's the tragedy, because you can't, years ago, it was an amazing book when it was written. I used to listen to All Things Considered until they went a little too far the opposite way for me. But I was shocked that they had them on. There was 2 guys who wrote a book on fatherhood, and they made the statement, you can never substitute a father's love, ever. There is no substitute for it. And
it's part of how many moms does it take to make a dad? 0.
Right.
Zero.
And so to see that institution, that concept of fatherhood under the attack that it is, that they want to even take away the name for Father's Day, and the anger all around that, and not knowing, again, it's a selfish thing that they want to take away their hate and everything and go after fathers or, whatever, males. But nobody's thinking about the kid.
That's the one who suffers most, unfortunately, yeah. I mean, it's going to take a big change, and I don't think we'll see it in our lifetime. But like I said, hopefully we can set the stages for future generations to do it. Exactly.
Any last words on this?
Well, like I said, look for the movie. I mean, we're probably half a year away from completion, and we're taking it day by day with the pandemic, but it'll make you laugh. I tried to be fair. I put the father's point of view, I put the mother's point of view, and I put the child's point of view. So you're gonna laugh. You're gonna get educated. We got a lot of talent on the show. I really think it's gonna be a big hit. So look for it on Amazon Prime. It's called The World Needs a New Superhero. And it's got myself, Dennis Worth. I got my buddy Ricky Mapleton up in New Hampshire. He's in the movie. We got Adam Griswold, great director. At least check it out. That's all I can say is check it out and help spread awareness.
Well, Dennis, this was a blast. I think we went a full hour. And
hopefully we educated someone into looking into things. That'd be great.
Well,
Tom, thank you for having me on. You're always
keep the crusade. I'm thrilled with it. I bring awareness. Let's try to stay positive through the insanity, and hopefully we come out with the good guys win. Wouldn't that be nice?
Sounds good. Yeah, keep them laughing. Make them laugh. Don't bring them down. Bring them up. Keep them laughing, and we'll change the world through laughter. That's
okay, and that's it from Upbeat with Dennis Worth and Tom Hayes. Thank you so much, Dennis. Great podcast. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.